everyone makes mistakes, but you have to take accountability for those, and you have to understand how your actions reflect on your community, not just yourself, but the other people that are attached to you. And I think that's the problem, is that like that is something that we have lost, and there are not spaces existing that are allowing for men to rediscover that.
So, man, put simply, your actions have consequences.
Yeah.
And those consequences you have to take accountability for. So, know what you're doing when you're on road and doing certain things, because there's one thing, and I'm going to say this as the last thing because it was something that happened quite recently, without implicating anybody. Basically, there was a shooting in a club where somebody tried to murder someone, from both people from our community, and essentially the family of the accused murderer, the family of the accused are up in arms and having I don't even know how to say it. Basically, they confused as to why this guy's gonna serve time. Like, and it's a whole mad situation. But my point is, I don't know this guy, I don't know the guy, but I know people around the space. Yeah, and it's affecting people emotionally. But I have a hard time respecting any man that's going to take his beef to a club because he knows a guy's going to be in there. Because you see, back in my day, I grew up in Birmingham in the 90s. You get what I mean? We did things differently. You get what I'm showing you? Like, if you were looking for a man, you don't go to a club and go and shoot him in a club knowing that he could go off and kill other people.
Yeah.
Man cared about their families and people's family. Like, you wouldn't, we move differently. You get what I'm showing you? I'm not saying me in particular.
But it's... But as I'm saying, that's a part of it. The masculine understanding is that the road is the road, isn't it? Family, civilians, because it's bait and you're going to get your own family involved. And if I choose, as a man, if I make a decision to jump on the roads, that's the decision I made.
Right.
Doesn't have to involve my family, not then making other young children who are vulnerable. I chose to go on the roads. And if I've got a problem with somebody else who also chooses to be on the roads, that's the order that we're in.
Yeah.
Not that other people need to be involved.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I completely agree with that.
So things have changed. I mean, even in Birmingham, things have changed. I'm showing you, like, man are doing all manner of issues, madness, and that issue I spoke to you about, that happened in up north. Again, I don't want to implicate anybody or any situation, but simply put, like, if you're on the road doing your thing, just you're on the road and keep that separate. Don't be out. Like, I can't stand when man bring their beef to the club.
Yeah,
you get what I'm showing you.
The clubs get shut down. You can't put out no music. We can't put no music. Then the promoters can't get no club nights. We can't celebrate our culture. We can't get our music promoted. People can't make their money from playing. You're bringing down the whole hood as well.
The whole thing
when you realize that a man in your crew can spit and you want to elevate his career so you can now wash or legitimize your money, you can't do that now because we can't break no music in no clubs.
Right.
So how can you? So this is what I'm trying to say to you. Because no sane person wants to be on road forever.
Well, you know what? I don't believe these youths understand what 10 years really looks like.
No, they don't.
As a 20-year-old...
Until a judge tells them.
Well, put that aside. As a 20-year-old, when they're banging road thinking, yeah, man, I made 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand, 200 grand, however much it is, and man are on road, buying cars, champagne in clubs, impressing gal and rare. They don't realise that this is just a fleeting moment and that you cannot be on road all your life. So better yet, get your money, wash it, keep it moving, quick time. You get what I'm showing you? Don't be thinking that you're going to be a career criminal, because not many people make it out being a career criminal.
Yeah, and we should look at that because we know that's the fact. And there are normally two outcomes of that lifestyle. Now, what that means is, I'm not judging anybody involved in the lifestyle because circumstances can dictate what people do.
Yeah.
But it means it's the cemetery or it's the cell, innit? Now, what that means is the ones that's not real and that's not on it are the ones that's left to impart knowledge to the children and the next generation, which is what, and that's why you see the values that even though some man was road, but man would have certain values. Like you still know your family from the rest of it. You see how that decline continues, because if all the real ones die or go pen, all the snitches and all the people that are cowards and all the people that have no problem abusing children or grooming children into doing it are the ones that's left. And then you start seeing it get worse and worse and worse and worse, because when most people did it, I did this because this is the only way I can feed my family. I did this because I want to make sure pattern for a better life. I did this because I don't know other way, and my uncles and my brothers was all involved in it. But I want to, as soon as I can leave, I'm out of here. Then now you got the people that ego and vanity, and the people that weren't.
And these, you know what? These are the same man that you see in the ends, are just walking around looking soulless at 60, 70 years old.
Yeah,
kind of tenants or whatever man drinking. You get what I'm showing you.
Because all of their friends are gone, and no one wants to chat to them, and everybody else that they know is strung out, and also they are in their head all of the violence and all of the madness that they have been internalizing for all of these years. Where's it going? Because when you're on road, you might shoot people and rest it and feel fine, or you might do certain things. Your mind is making a log of all of this your whole life.
But something you said earlier, the brain always remembers.
It remembers it all. Subconsciously, your brain is remember all. And even if you don't have to relive these things in your waking mind, when you try to sleep, you'll see these things. And then we wonder why we end up in secure units and people are getting, what do you call it? Sectioned.
Yeah.
People are getting sectioned and walking, like I said, walking around with a glazed look on their face because you got the same level of PTSD as a squaddy.
Mad.
And now you're having a psychotic break and you don't even know why. And this is what I'm saying. It's like,
and then them. This is the thing. So them youths there that are seeing, like youths that are on the road now that are seeing man on the road that like just in the ends just looking wasty. Those are the same man that were on the road running shit. When just like these youths are running shit now, you get me. So it's important.
I'm saying running shit because it's like this is what you used to understand. That man looks washed to you now.
Yeah,
that was you 20 years ago,
right? So that's what I'm saying. This is where you're heading when you're talking about being a career criminal. That's where you're heading. You get me? So the man, them youths on the road now, take heed. You think that you're gonna be a career criminal forever? Trust me, there'll come a time where them same man that you say he's washed, dirty little man on the road or whatever, that's most likely gonna be you, bro.
Trust.
You get me? But anyway, I want to move on quickly because that discussion took way longer than.
I know.
It was a good one. It was a
but it has to be said. It has to be said.
Yeah, man. So the second reason why I personally supported, or I say supported, I didn't vote, but because I couldn't obviously vote, but I was more kind of like on the Trump side than the Kamala and the Democrat side, is because of foreign policy. And I believe that Trump being in office is better for foreign policy as far as our community is concerned than Kamala. And the reason why I believe that is because, let's put it this way, whether Labour, Tories, Democrats or Republicans, none of them really have any morals and none of them really care about our community. So that's just one thing. But what you'll find is Republicans, I like my racists being racist.
Yeah.
I want them to tell me,
who they
show
are.
me who you are. You get what I'm saying? Labour and the Democrat Party have this way of putting our community in a space of complacency where we're getting just enough benefits not to ruffle anyone's feathers. But the disparity between, I mean, we spoke about this before, about the median or the average wealth within black families being zero by 2050, 2053. You know what I mean? Like, that is continuing. That's happening. You have people that make things happen. You have people that see things happen, and then people that wonder what happened. And our community tends to be in the latter. You know what I mean? We kind of like wonder, well, how did that happen? My point being is, when Trump comes in and he's doing things like South Africa is treating a particular community wrong, when it's all it is black people coming together and saying, actually, our land was stolen. We'd like that back, please. Like, let's work this out. However, I mean, I don't want to get into the weeds because that's a whole different conversation. When, you know, he's going into Gaza and saying, you know, we're going to take control of the Gaza Strip and parts of Egypt and blah, blah, blah. But you've got nothing to say about the 700,000 displaced people in the Congo and the women that have just been raped this week. How many? They're asking the UN to leave Congo. You get what I'm showing you? This is blatant racism. Like, I don't care about, because I don't care about particular communities. I care about my community. That's what Trump is telling you. Yeah. And I feel like as far as our community is concerned, whether it be in our local communities, being in London, or if you're in the US somewhere or wherever you are, this is a kick up
Yeah, I
You
see.
get what I'm showing you? Like, to show you, like, this, we can't afford, and something you said as well, we can't afford to be complacent, bro.
No.
And having Tories or Republicans in power, it kind of reminds us of that.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? So then you get the Ibrahim Traores and what's going on in Burkina Faso and other places, Niger and Mali, and you know what I mean? Even South African government.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We're actually doing
Julius Malema.
doing the reforms.
You get what I'm showing?
Yeah.
These people actually, because they've realized, you know, when Trump's saying we're taking away aid from this country and that country, they're like, yo, safe, keep your aid, bro.
I think you've done it, Index. You found the point that we can agree on. You found it. Yeah, you did it. I don't want to be a fatalist or a nihilist where our community is concerned, but I definitely feel like you are correct in that the left have done a very good job of, or the left of centre parties, as I would describe them now, but really, we're right. But basically, in terms of the bipartisan political spectrum, they do a very good job of giving this veneer of inclusivity to our community, and little by little, the stuff that we actually fought for and we created that seat at the table, they've moved us down the table. They've given us a little bit of less food at that table. They've been like, would you not mind sitting on that table? It's still near, we can still see you from the table, but you know that, and gradually we have seen the rights that really we have led in terms of social progression being taken from us, distributed everywhere. Like, you know, it goes as far back as 40 acres and a mule. That's still not been the restitution. Every single group we've referred to before have received some form of reparations or equity. We are yet to have ours in earnest. And in terms of having someone who's openly racist and in terms of racialist and shows preference to their own community, is there's a brutal honesty in that I think we need as a wake-up call. That Trump don't give a fuck. And he's open about the fact he don't give a fuck. And even though there's other black people that might align with him, but for the most part, he don't give a fuck. And we are still trying to maybe be in some weird form of a negotiating stage with their left-wing counterparts about how we're going to benefit as well. And, you know, if we want to zero on the UK, it's like, I am definitely not a Tory, massively opposed to the Tories, but how have they managed to have a brown prime minister and a black leader and have a black home secretary and do all of these things while Labour was catching up? And all Labour do and all the left wing do now is that they just go, oh, we can be discriminatory too, rather than having policies that benefit us and listening to how they can benefit their historical constituents like ourselves. Then we're like, oh, we can be like that as well. We can be discriminatory. But how's it gotten to the point where, you know, we have gone from these people in the UK are leading in terms of their representation, even if their values are the same as Tories have always been. But they're bringing people in. And for a lot of us, optics mean everything. So if you look at Nigerians and the Nigerian diaspora, which now forms the largest group in the diaspora now, and they see a Nigerian can lead a whole political party in the UK, well, what do you think that's going to do to votes? Now, you have the Obama argument amongst Democrats, but then the issue would be then is that with a black president, the issues that are at the forefront of the black experience or at the forefront of the collective consciousness of African Americans weren't really addressed that much by Obama. Like, Obama created like drug courts, for example, whereby you could fast track courts for people that commit non-violent crimes related to their substance abuse. But that was largely because of how the opioid crisis was affecting white people, rather than a policy that was, you know, any effective real prison reform ahead of the game. May have gone, and the structure of America's Senate might have affected that, but at the same time, I'm somebody, I don't like this shit where I see pictures where they have like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Obama. However people feel about Obama, he ain't them. Nowhere near them, can't touch them, not fit to drink their piss, to be quite honest with you. And he's an intellectual. He's an accomplished man. He's a very successful man. Like, on paper, Barack Obama is perfect presidential material, but he ain't these two. And it is a disrespect to even suggest that it's. And the thing is that I do agree that I would rather people be open about their discriminatory policies so that we are able to come together and discuss how we fight against these policies and these emerging policies that are going to marginalize us, rather than continue along this ship or continue to be hanging out where it's like, oh, well, you know, the table, do you mind going in the next room? But there's a glass window, so you can still see the table. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to name this seat after you. No, don't sit there. It's named after you. So whoever has a seat at the table will be like a black person, if you think about it. That's how they've done it. Because it's like, for me, it's like now in London, the Overground line is called the Windrush.
Oh shit, yeah, for it. I forgot about that.
What a disrespect.
I forgot.
It's a disrespect.
Wow, you've been kicking people out of the country for the last how many years?
Kicking them out of the country, destroying their documents, which gives them eligibility to stay in the UK. You've let them die in absentia. You've not created and not failing to continue a compensation scheme. Now you know Grenfell's getting knocked down.
Oh mad.
And it's supposed to be seen as a given that a political party like Labour, who has been empowered by the working class, empowered by union workers, empowered by people, silence.
Nothing.
Well, or carrying it out. And up to now, who's been made accountable for this fire and for the cladding and all the rest of it?
So this is the thing. As far you said something about fighting, like collectively fighting against the powers that are overtly racist towards or shows overt racist policies. I am almost not really down for fighting against them, but creating systems that benefit us within our. I mean,
that's how I say the fight is that we, and you know, I think what you're describing, the harshest truth, is that we are going to have to accept that the bipartisan political system is not there to benefit us, and we need to have more of a political presence and a political entity which over everything else. Because obviously, like I said, we will sit at different parts, whether it's the sexuality spectrum, the political spectrum. We will be wherever we want to be, but until we are at a position whereby we are cementing and affirming and consolidating our equality and our access to capital and our, you know, economic equity compared to other groups of people, everything else is dead.
So, Dane, tell me, how would you do that?
What I would do is I would try to meet with members of the community who identify at different parts of the political spectrum and try to find what the commonality is in terms of empowering our community. If we are overrepresented in the poverty line, what can we do to address our poverty? If we are overrepresented in the prison population, what can we do in order to encourage prison reform? And how can we hold these people to account to either address the issue of stop and search or police profiling or harsher sentencing for black defendants to their white counterparts for the exact same crime? And me personally, if people don't want to meet that, well, good luck with the one white guy that's going to be playing football for England, because the rest of us are not going to do it.
The one black guy.
Yeah, the one white guy's, no. White guy was going to be on his own.
Oh, shit.
Because if you've seen the England team now, don't look like it did in 1966. And that's because since the Civil Rights Act has been signed and sports have been desegregated, you're not seeing a group of white men winning Pietings by themselves anymore. That don't happen. And that is what I'm saying. But then the problem is, how am I going to be able to incentivize or be able to reach, black overachievers and the black achievers who are having their own money success and say to them, well, here's how you help the community, is that obviously you might have to miss a couple games because these men are taking the piss. Because, example.
And you know what? It goes back to the man them playing football, miss a couple penalties or 3 penalties in the European final.
You're not English no more.
So this is
So from when that happens, it's like, cool, not only at national level, don't look for us at club level. That's your business. Because I've in my time being alive, I've only seen that a few times in Europe when I've seen players walk off the pitch because of racism, that are black players and thing. But in 2020, when we were seeing this resurgence of BLM, after George Floyd's murder, the NBA man then was like, nah, I ain't playing. Now, that just shows you, all it would take is for the black players in the Prem to be like, well, we ain't playing then, until you create a framework whereby black players can go on to have jobs as coaches and managers, then nope. I'm afraid not.
But you see, how can I think before we get there, we definitely need to have more clout in the supply chains of these areas.
Yeah, but the way but I think that capitalism is a way you can fast track that.
Yes,
black people. People know how to. If we knew how to weaponize our capitalist expenditure, and that's what we need to do. Maybe we can work out how we can direct that. Because if black people say that is a dead crep, Your crep ain't selling. If we say that's a dead drink, ain't no one drinking it.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. And if we can use that voice, I'm openly tell you, I'm happy for us to weaponize that influence. If we say and have the power to, as a collective voice, influence stock prices. That's really what we're working towards. Wherever you sit on the political spectrum, we should all be able to say that our words can manipulate stock markets.
So I would just want to say this because you've mentioned the word capitalist or capitalism. Often, especially when you're coming from the left side, which traditionally we are as from our communities, capitalism is a bad word.
Yeah.
But right now, that's what we need to do. We need to implement capitalism to improve.
But we wouldn't be we're not weaponizing capitalism. That's the system we're in, but we're weaponizing commerce because our commerce drives capitalism a lot of the time.
Right.
And I say to people all the time, I don't think people understand yet. You see, like, for example, Bugattis. That was not a popular whip. Black people made that popular because a Bugatti Veyron was so expensive that it would cost you $250,000 just to get it serviced because it's got a gold-plated engine and the rest of it, and you got to fly a man in to come and do your car. Now, most people were like, that's long, I'll just get a Ferrari or a Lambo. We are the ones who, through music, made that a popular whip. Literally had a song, I woke up in the new Bugatti. I woke up in a Bugatti. So people start looking at that car and it profiles it. Like, I will say it. Black people made Crocs popular.
Yeah,
Black people, and I'm just talking about like recent examples. Like another example would be like SkyTel pagers back in the day. That was popularized by Black people as well. The length and width of jeans and how that fluctuates is Black people. When we said boot cuts are dead, boot cuts went out for a good 20 years. Now they're back. But again, who is deciding these things?
Yeah,
the level of power we have as tastemakers and how much capitalism depends on our incentives and our outlook in order for it to be commercially viable is so important. So capitalism can be a dirty word, but it exists and we're hearing it. And until we can change that, we need to learn to weaponize our consumption, whether you're from the perspective of being left wing and we're saying we're not going to consume certain things and we're going to boycott certain things until our needs and our community is respected, or to the point where we have an understanding of where we should exist within this logistical chain, not just as tastemakers, but having access to resources and doing stuff for ourselves. But if this is not going to happen overnight, and I accept that. But what I'll definitely say is that while we are having to live, thrive, and work within this capitalist or system of commerce, we need to learn to weaponize that and say, boy, all right, if that's how you're getting on, we'll let everybody know that your drink is dead. Your drink ain't selling nowhere. Yeah.
And you know what, more to the point as well. So this, because as part of saying we need to weaponize our commerce and become more commercially viable and shape capitalism, we also have the conversation of saying, okay, we're not going to buy this product, we're not going to consume this product or service or whatever. It's also offering alternatives. Now, this is a message I'm going to be driving home until Krypton Colon scale their what is it? Safeways. Yeah. Safeways. I need, because it's so close to Safeways, which if you're old enough, you would remember Safeways. But anyway, Safeways, until they scale into multiple markets and multiple places in the UK and maybe internationally, I'm going to be driving home this message. I would like to see independent Black businesses stock their products in their shops. Yeah. Because their viability or their fame has been leveraged to market that Safeways as a shopping centre to our community. Therefore, I think they should water the well that they are taking water out of. My opinion. Yeah. And I'm going to keep saying it until I see. I mean, I've not been there yet, to be fair. I do need to pay a visit and see what's going down there. But I see lots of tropical sun products. That's all in the advertisements and pictures and stuff like that. So I would like to see that happen. Anyway, going back to your point.
No, but I mean, yeah, I just think just covering that point that like, obviously we are in a world where money makes the world go round, and we are overrepresented in terms of our spending, but not necessarily in terms of our ownership. And that is something that we can do in very gradual stages and at least get into the practice of leveraging our power as tastemakers and making sure that once we are able to do that, then we can begin to graduate to different parts of the chain, and also just have a constant dialogue of awareness so people know what we're doing, how we're doing it. I mean, I don't know what the Black is there a business insider where we can, or directories where we can help one another. I think that there's definitely been an element of revolution in terms of digital, the digital era, where you can now set up your shop online, and we don't have to go through the grueling negotiations of commercial properties and commercial loans when you can just advertise your stuff online. And I think we need to make sure we champion that and make sure we develop more spaces that we, and making that process and the logistical chain, at least digitally, be a lot easier. Because
love that.
you know, people will say to you, I don't want to say shop on like big, you know, streaming things like Amazon, necessarily that, but the only difference is, and Black person can agree with that, when if I go to a high-end store in Kensington, then there's a chance I might get followed around, or people don't know where my money's come from. Whereas when I make purchases online, I don't have to go through that same thing. I don't have to have people stand up in my face and look at the notes. People used to, you know, people used to do that if you're Black and you gave them something more than £20, they'd be like, oh my God. And the brother would be like, come and look at this and blah, blah, blah. And then he's like,
bro, that's
take the black light pen and start crossing up, and you're just like,
you're showing your age. You know why? You're showing your age because a lot of the viewers won't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So before it was a cashless society, cash was these things that is paper, and that's what the P's is short for in P's, is for paper, because that's how money used to be. And like certain denominations of notes, if you was a Black person, you couldn't go in a shop with when we was a certain age,
£50 note, you couldn't do it.
A Black person not taking a £50 note from you.
Trust me. I was speaking to someone the other day, and they would, in fact, I was in a restaurant, and the server, we got talking about money for some reason, and she was like, I never carry cash. I don't even carry cards. I just have Apple Wallet, and that's it. And I was like, mad. That's a whole different conversation, because the amount of data that you're giving away every time you use, I mean, even your card, but
and tracking data, and and again, and this is the new currency as well. Data is so valuable. And again, and this is the other thing, and you know what? And it's such an important thing as well, because that, in terms of data, in terms of this, even more brings home the importance of understanding our power.
Right.
Because even the way that we talk about things online, and we cuss certain things,
that's leverage, bro.
It's leverage. Because if we say, right, that new, blood, are you mad? That new Popeye's chicken burger, bro. That thing, listen.
You know the wickedest thing?
Slaps through, boy. Their sales can be affected by that, because
but the same, and this talks to the point that you said a couple of podcasts ago when you said black spaces, white faces, because the way that you talk online will show up in an advert where a white character's saying,
well, in the advent of AI, they won't even be no actors, bro. They'll just take what Black people say, take the script, which you don't trademark, and take your transcript from a conversation you have online. If you don't think that corporations ain't sitting there on the shade bar watching all the jokes and quips we have when we see stuff, they're taking that. Next thing you know, you're watching a video for KFC. It's like, are you okay, hun? Yeah, this thing slaps, you know. Oh, she ate. Let him cook. And all these little colloquial turns of phrase that we have to sell to this demographic, and not one of us is making peas along this chain. So we have to make sure that you're protecting our energy in that space.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I'd summarize that by saying, and I think you did a good job in doing it, but I just say it simply, just saying, by anything you do online is not owned by you. Anything you say online is not owned by you, and can be used by commercial entities, commercialized and repackaged and sold back to you, which, if we had ownership of these entities, then we would be getting paid.
And that is a great question. Who controls it? Why can we not control our own intellectual property? And how do we begin the process of taking that ownership?
Into that podcast.
And I'm going to say about to say. We're going to get into that one.
We'll get into the podcast. Trust me. I want to finish off on a couple of more lighter subjects.
Yes.
The first of which is a guy you might know. His name's Kanye West.
I believe I may have heard of him. Mr. Kanye Omari West. My goodness me. So, for those who don't know, for the last fortnight, Kanye has come up quite a bit, beginning with attending the Grammys with his wife, Bianca Censori, who wore a very risque, I guess, a transparent mesh dress.
I thought it was a dress with print on it.
Oh. Maybe. I'll be honest. I did not notice. I didn't notice. Now, Kanye is no stranger to controversy when it comes to the Grammys and stuff as well. And apparently was not even invited as an attendee, but showed up with his missus, with her coat.
Gangster.
Yeah, and became, you know, in large part the talk, in many ways, the talk of the awards. It's not necessarily for the right reasons, but more recently, Kanye has come into the fore again because of a series of very incendiary and controversial tweets, making some very disparaging remarks about the Jewish community, about I guess would say plus size women, comments about white people, black people, people who have less money than he does. But that rant went on for a good 20 plus tweets. And I guess for a lot of people, which also included him referring to himself as Yadolf Hitler, which has obviously been perceived as being very anti-Semitic. But Kanye has very recently had his account suspended on X, formerly known as Twitter, due to pornography. But yeah, a lot of people are now saying they're done with Kanye. A lot of people are insistent that we do not pay attention to him, that his antics have become droll and just cliched and just basically distasteful. A lot of the things that people say about Kanye a lot of the time. But again, he has gotten people talking again. But there are a lot of people that think that now his appeal and his ability to create conversation that is positively linked to his artistry and eccentricity is we're at the end. People saying that they've had enough and that he's gone too far is what people are saying.
He's always going too far.
Well,
and like people have been done with him before and he came back. I mean,
which is a part of his narrative as well, is that like I've got my money, and as he said in the song, la 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 la.
And you know what? He warned us, you know.
He said it.
It's mad, bro. Bruv, you know that one just drops.
Yeah.
Bruv. He said, la, 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 wait until I get my money right. And la, 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 la. You can't tell me nothing right.
About a month ago when it was, I think Forbes or some part of it, or I think it was Reuters said that he is now a billionaire again. He wrote, la, 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 la. And then 2 weeks later, he's like, no one can tell me nothing. And a lot of people are offended and disgusted by his comments and his narrative and his recent explosion of tweets.
So here what I would say about Mr. Kanye West now is that no matter what, similar to Elon Musk, I think he's a dangerous guy, but there's things I like about him. We've discussed this and I'm not going to go back into all of that. It's the same thing with Kanye. A lot of people don't like him. And I get why. I understand why. There's a lot of shit that he said I don't agree with and I don't care for and I think people should ignore. But similar to what my nan used to say when I was growing up, pick sense from nonsense. There are some things that he's saying that are true.
That's good saying.
Do you get what I'm showing you? So, again, I would say to our community in particular, pick sense from nonsense because there are certain things that are going on within the sphere of politics and money and stuff like that, creativity and whatnot, that actually apply to us, and we need to be aware of. There's an old saying about hiding the lies in between two truths. I think Jadakiss said it in a bar back in the day. I think it was Jadakiss. Someone who's a hip hop enthusiast will correct me, I'm sure, in the comments. But my point being is, there's ways in which you can cover things. I read a good book lately about called How to Lie with Statistics. So all I'm saying is, and I just want to finalize, unless you've got any more to say about Kanye West, is no, I don't agree with everything he says, but I definitely think he enrages people on purpose to get your attention, to give you a message. And if you're sleeping, you won't get it. If you're semi-awake, you'll get some stuff. And if you just don't care, you probably just don't like him. But I think our community should pay attention.
I agree on that point. I think our community should definitely pay attention.
Else, Dane?
There you go. And I think that our community should pay attention to Kanye West. I mean, not because of from the point of idolizing him, but this is a man's journey where I would say, if in no other aspect, professionally and economically, he has achieved what he said he would do. And then I think in many ways he's exceeded expectations. We cannot deny that the Kanye brand has been massively influential on popular and contemporary culture as well as music.
Continues
to be massively influential.
Still,
right. I think that Kanye has made several attempts in his guided by his own self-belief that he is able to unite both American culture and is able to control culture, irrespective of where people exist within culture. And it could be argued that that's a very difficult thing to do, which is going to cause a lot of anger from a lot of people. I'm not making this equivalency at all between these two people, but people should not forget that icons like Martin Luther King, Muhammad Ali, these people were maligned and hated when they were alive.
Bro.
They were not.
Yeah.
Bob Marley is the most famous Jamaican person in the world, I would argue, and people mimic him all over the world. And when you say to people, Bob Marley, they go, "One love," as if he weren't shot in the chest.
Yeah.
He was shot in the chest when he was alive. Now, I'm not saying it's not equal, but Kanye is an artist, and there are many artists that say massively problematic things. There are many. Pablo Picasso was very aggressive towards women as well.
I'll tell you who's a good example of that. What's his name? Muhammad Ali. How many controversies did he stir when he was spouting out at the mouth? I mean, you know what? I'm going to go off a little bit and say this. I was watching a podcast where the person was suggesting that there is a way to induce Parkinson's disease medically. I'll leave that there for the conspiracy theories to dive into and re-educate us in the comments.
Yeah.
But my point being is, like, it was the same for Muhammad Ali. You got what I mean? My man used to go off on one, talk about white people in all sorts of ways, and then I remember it was crazy. I used to manage an artist, white girl back in the day, and I happened to visit her home, well, her parents' home, and I got to know her younger brother, and he had a massive Muhammad Ali picture on his wall, and I was just like, isn't it mad how this white boy from a very obscure area, I'm not going to say the area, but he definitely didn't have much black people in it.
Yeah.
Is now revering, like, and it was probably he had other posters, but this was a framed, massive picture of Muhammad Ali with that famous, the one.
Yeah, well, let me bust you on this one. You've mentioned Muhammad Ali, we've mentioned Kanye West. Well, what is the corporation that's been able to profit from both of them and their image? Adidas. And Bob Marley too.
And
isn't that strange that this German company that manufactures sports apparel has been able to make all this money from these three people that were maligned while they were alive, and these people can still make money when they're no longer here? I'm just saying that. I mean, it goes back to what we're saying about the amount of power you can leverage and how people can profit from that. And I would just say, I'm not a fan of necessarily Kanye's antics, but he clearly understands that the economy of attention. And I think that he has had some very, very terrible statements of late. But at the same time, like you said, you can pick sense from nonsense. And I don't think that his accounts and his access to his own earned wealth should be cut off from him any more than the CEO of Nestle, who says shit like, water is not a human right. People should be more worried about that rather than what Kanye says and when he's telling his wife to take her breast out her door.
No, bro, it was a print on the dress.
Okay. Well, that's a very good print.
Oh, well, I thought it was a print anyway.
It's going to sell. It's most likely.
Yeah.
In a different space, whatever, it's going to sell. But, this is somebody who, Kanye is, I had a conversation with an African-American comedian, a friend of mine, and I guess we kind of both said that there's no denying his artistic greatness, especially with shut up sometimes and let us tell him instead.
Yeah. You know what? I hear what you're saying, but I am a fan of disruptors. And the reason why I'm a fan of disruptors, and it doesn't matter the color of the disruptor either, because I feel like it's, in some places and spaces, it creates balance. In the same way that I prefer Trump over Kamala, it balances out certain agendas that concern me personally and what really I felt like that impacted our community. So it's like, in the same way that people marginalize and hate Putin, I'm quite happy to like the guy from what I've seen on the front face, because he creates balance. If we didn't have any Putin, then we would have a complete dissemination of any form of balance at all when it comes to global politics and things like that. So for me, Yeah, anyone who's disrupting things to keep things in balance, I'm a fan of in some spaces. So not like, oh, I really love Putin. Like he can't, you know what I mean? I hope you get what I'm saying.
No, you need disruptors in order for you to remind people of why they maybe shouldn't have the chance to disrupt shit. But if we don't have disruption, then what you do have is a status quo, which also leaves you open to complacency,
Right,
and problems there as well. So I think that, but me, so far as I'm concerned, it's like, you know, I don't really listen to Kanye like that as much as I used to anyway. But I think that this idea that he's like one of the worst and most controversial, divisive figures in music and entertainment is kind of a reach. And I think there's people who've been much more problematic than Kanye. At time of recording anyway, I say that. But hopefully you don't do anything too mad to have to come back here and be like...
well, you know what? I mean, there was a time where I thought there was no coming back, but then...
He did.
He did. So, and I understood certain messages, so I'm just kind of like, okay, cool. We'll leave it up in the air. And, you know, if he does do something mad that we have to say, rah, that was too mad, brother.
Well, on the point of the anti-Semitism, I will definitely say this, that I watched during Donald Trump's first term, I watched a tiki torch parade of white brothers walking through Charlottesville, screaming out that the Jewish community will not replace us. And no one froze their accounts. Nobody tried to get them locked up or say they couldn't have jobs ever again. And they weren't masked up or nothing. These men had tiki torches and their faces was lit up just fine. I watched Elon Musk do a very awkward Roman, obviously Nazi salute at the inauguration. And the idea of freezing his accounts wasn't discussed. So if we're going to be revile Kanye and be repulsed by his actions and be disgusted, that's cool. But
What you did say his accounts were frozen on account of pornography and not...
No, his social media account on X is suspended, but I'm saying his literal bank accounts.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, we know that. I mean, we could even speak to that, like, Wiley. It's close to home. I don't even want to go into it because the amount of people that didn't stand up and say anything when it comes to Wiley, and that bugs me to this day. Like, I feel like there's a bag of man that just don't get no ratings. You're out here... You know, you're eating from masses' hands. That's why. Anyway, let me not get into that car. That's some.
We should, but maybe not this week.
Yeah. Not in this one. I mean, this is probably gonna have to be a part 1, part 2 thing anyway. But my last point. Last night, Kendrick Lamar performed at the Super Bowl.
Yep.
What did you think?
Do you know what? I think that for the Super Bowl performance, I think it was very good. I think optically, visually, I really enjoyed it. The addition of Serena Williams and Samuel Jackson was a great touch. It's good to see Mustard there as well. I think I enjoyed seeing it visually. I think it was great. I think it's considering, leaving aside the beef and all the rest of it, and we can discuss that at some point as well. I think that people need to remember that at some point in Q1 of 2024, people were saying that rap ain't doing it no more. Like I don't think they had any rap hip hop albums were in the Billboard top 10 at some point of the middle of the year. And, you know, he, as well as, you know, defeating Drake, helping to revive West Coast hip hop, he has also brought positive attention back to hip hop as well, and has also, maybe in a way that's a bit more deft and something that Kanye could learn from, has shown that you can positively highlight the African American experience and African American consciousness without having to do anything too wild or controversial.
And that we know about.
That we know about.
Yeah.
No, bloody hope not. But like, I feel like, I think, having Serena, having Mustard and having Samuel Jackson, I think that it was, I think Kendrick has found a very good way to display his politics that a lot of us can learn from.
I think this is a space in which it's a shame to say that I disagree with you on. I didn't enjoy the performance. I felt like it lacked energy. I feel like he could have done a little bit more to bring the vibe and energy up, especially representing hip hop on such a big stage. I feel like he could have went a little bit further in terms of like maybe bringing in a couple more people. I get there was a message that he was trying to send. From what I heard, his performance was supposed to be half an hour long.
Yeah.
But it lasted
13 minutes.
13 minutes. So that means there was space to pad it out with different parts.
Yeah, if you ask me ideally, I mean, what it represents, I enjoyed. But if you were to ask me ideally, I would definitely like to see like Black Hippie up in that as well. A couple of things with Schoolboy Q and all the rest of them as well. I'd love to have seen that. I'd have loved to have seen some of the guests that were on GNX recently. be able to showcase as well. Because in the video for like Squabble Up, there's like him showing like the kind of Latin and African American unity, and I would have liked to have seen that on the big stage in the Super Bowl. I understand that it might have been techie and political, but it would have been cool to see like a New Orleans artist also being there with him as well.
Lil Wayne
or Boozy.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I feel like for me, Lil Wayne would have put an end to this beef in a way that because I feel like after yesterday's performance, Drake has a commercial incentive to kind of pip his head in the door and say, right, like, your performance went up tonight and I do Super Bowl, it's smashing down. And I think he may have a point because he's got songs that could do it, even though the symbolism and the message isn't one that I really care for. Yeah. The only reason why I mention it is because I am Kendrick over Drake. Yeah. You get what I'm showing you? That's and because I'm Kendrick over Drake, I'm going to be more harsher for someone who, like, I want you to do the job, blood. You get me? And as far as I'm concerned, you didn't do the job. When you're entertaining, when you're performing at the Super Bowl, you're entertaining Middle America and the rest of the world, bro. You get what I'm showing you? Yeah. So you've got to touch them points. Like, don't get me wrong, the message and the symbolism wasn't missed by me.
Super Bowl's almost like the American equivalent of headlining Glastonbury.
Right. You get what I'm showing?
That makes sense.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
you have to bring it.
You have to bring it differently. And even if you look at his energy, for me, it just lacked. So I was disappointed, bro. I was disappointed. And if I was going to summarize it, and the ends with the man them, I'd just say it was shit. But I'm giving extra context because we're here and the podcast.
Well, hopefully he's going on tour next year with SZA. So hopefully, or is it this year? He's going to be on tour later with SZA. So touring GNX. So maybe they'll make up for it then.
I hope so. But given what he's done, and I mean, even his albums, I think, like, I mean, his my favorite album of his would be the first one by far. I get the message and everything else in the other albums, but what I think Kendrick has done sonically with his albums, what Kanye did in terms of going so far out, people didn't understand. It was too far before, like ahead. It was ahead of his time. Yeah. I'm showing you sonically, and also lyrically, the way that he wraps up it. Only certain people will understand it. And while I think artistically it's sick, I think what he should do is do that shit on mixtapes, commercial mixtapes, so that we can understand as a community and those other people that get it, but then entertain the people so that you have a balance of the both. I feel like he leans so heavily into this artistry bag that, and it goes so far out that inevitably he's going to create a space just like Kanye did for Drake. If there's no Kanye, there's no Drake. Because when Kanye did 808s and Heartbreaks, nobody really understood it. No. So far out. But what Drake said was, actually, you know what? I'm going to go and do this melodic rap and sit right in between where Kanye's created this space and where the industry is now. I'm going to sit in the middle of that and create my own thing. And he lived off that until Kendrick killed him the other day. You get what I'm showing you? So, like, I feel like that's what Kendrick's doing. Kendrick's, like, gone so far. He just needs somebody to kind of sit in the middle, come with the message, but also, you know, commercially be a little bit more viable, in my opinion.
I hear it. I'm not sure if I agree. I guess I'm talking from the artist perspective, innit? And so I understand sometimes you'll be ahead of your time and someone has to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I'm not saying that he should do that. I'm saying it would be good for him to do that. I think is more beneficial. But then he's creating space for other artists. I reckon there'll be a day when I sit down and say, without Kendrick, there wouldn't be this artist. Like Doechii.
Perfect one example.
Doechii is perfect. You got what I mean? Yeah. Without Kanye, there's no Doechii. Yeah. You got what I mean?
Even a Ray Vaughan and Isaiah Rashad and
right.
I mean, me personally, I love the TDE model and the aesthetic of it and what they've done. And I think Kendrick is a product of that, and let's hope it. PG Lang, I'm very optimistic about what he's going to create with that moving forward. But yeah, man, it's not always for everyone every time, innit? So
I hear that. Right, so we'll end, but I just wanted to summarize because I feel like we had a good conversation today. We spoke about Trump and you know, the reasons why people supported him, and one of the big conversation points was the LGBT community and how that is like played out in terms of like the upticks from Trump's point of view and the laws that he's passed and so forth and so on. But more focusing on our community in that we have different opinions on that space, but it doesn't mean that we have to war against each other. It's not a judging thing, and I feel like my opinion that I expressed should be allowed to be at least expressed and heard, and not be lambasted and demonized or deemed as something that is we're judging. You know what I mean? Because it exists, and a lot of people feel that way, or just been silenced. So that was, I feel like we came together in a good space, and
we could do, but I think we're gonna have to branch out the conversation to people that it's relevant to. But
yeah,
I think
definitely. So, you know, people in the comments, get in the comments and let us know what black members of the LGBT community would you like us to have this conversation with? Because I'm not educated enough to unpack it. I can only tell you my opinion, and it's good to debate, but I don't want to walk out of here from any debate and be like at anyone's throat. You got what I mean? I want to be able to say, you know what, we had a good discussion, good debate. The audience learned something, and it's all about coming together more than separating. We spoke about foreign policy, and again, the reasons why. I feel like it's about my opinion. My opinions on Trump and the preference of having him in power versus Kamala, and almost a shot in the arm of our community to be able to start thinking of just doing stuff for ourselves, because Kamala and the Labour Party in the UK, more particularly, they put us in a space of complacency, and we feel like we're okay when really we're not okay, and our average wealth of the black community is heading to zero because of the complacency that we are just in perpetual, like it's just perpetually happening. So and we both agreed on that as well, so that was good.
Yeah. And you know, we will agree. It's just that if we can have decent and respectful conversation, we can arrive at a point, and this is the thing that is happening across all of the digital space and just humanity in general, is that we need to get rid of this kind of sports and football team mentality and work about a common solutions that have for the betterment of everybody. That's how society is supposed to work. So yeah, we'll get there, man.
Yeah, man. See it there. So Dane, I think we'll end that one there. Socials, Mind Your Business Podcast. It's MYB_pod UK everywhere. Dane.
It's Dane Baptiste, comedian, writer, occasional actor. You can catch me on all your good socials. So just type in Dane Baptiste and you'll find me there. And yeah, look out for gigs. I'll be doing some gigs I'll be on the road again next month, towards the end of the month. So just look out for that and get in touch. I'll let you know where you can find me. And yeah, keep supporting the podcast. Appreciate you guys listening.
Yeah, man. Blessings.
Peace.